Good adventures, everybody. Welcome to episode 19 of Books Cubed. Did you check out our new logo? Isn't that great? I have in the show notes, I have a link to the gentleman who helped put that together, Zachary Casavant. He is fantastic. So check his work out if you're in need of logos. And today I have a fun show for you. We're talking about magic and creatures, unicorns and Bigfoot and sea monsters, all in this wonderful book by F.T. Lukens called The Rules and Regulations for Mediating Myths and Magic. I had to look down at my phone to make sure I said the title right. It is a lot of fun, and I think you'll like today's show. So let's get right to it. Good adventures, everybody, and welcome to the show. Today I have F.T. Lukens on, and we're going to be talking about her book, The Rules and Regulations for Mediating Myths and Magic. I'm going to hold it up, and I know it's going to be all, I don't know if it's going to, you can see it or not. I'll go back later and try to remember to pop the picture from maybe Amazon or something over the top so you can see it. But it is fun fantasy book. Yeah, there's one of her, she's holding up her bookmark. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And I was hoping that you could read just a little bit of the book to give everybody a flavor for this really fun adventure story.
Sure. The section I'm going to read is after Bridger, who's the main character, has gotten his job with an intermediary who helps folklore and myths integrate into the modern world. And in this section, he's going to, I don't know how long I'm going to read, but he's going to help with a rampaging unicorn. So
cool.
Let me cue this up. Okay. I swear, if this is another butter emergency, it's not, Pavel said. I need your help. He was more disheveled than usual. His chest heaved and a thin line of blood oozed from a cut across his cheekbone. Oh, right now? Bridger looked toward the field. A cheer had gone up from the crowd. One of the teams had scored. I'm kind of in the middle of something. Yes, right now. His voice was clipped and strained. Pavel was freaked, and alarm bells went off in Bridger's brain. This was it. This was his chance, his first myth assignment, his first step toward knowing and experiencing and wearing his own wistful expression at the magic of it all. Yes, he was ready. Bring it on. He nodded, adrenaline and excitement flooding through him. Okay, what do you need? Are you a virgin? Bridger sputtered. What the hell, man? What kind of question is that? Pavel talked over him. I don't have time for fake outrage over a state of being, Bridger. Either you are or you're not. I need to know. It's important. Well, Bridger ran a hand through his hair. He looked around again and lowered his voice. Yeah, I am. So? Pavel was visibly relieved. Wonderful. Have you read the book? Bridger shrugged. Parts of it? At Pavel's disapproving expression, Bridger shot back. I have schoolwork. Reading a technical guide on proper ways to handle Batatat fur is not high on my list of priorities right now. You've only gotten to B? Pavel's voice went high. What does any of this have to do with being a virgin? Do you have the book? It's at home. You should always carry it with you. Thanks for telling me now. That would have been great information to give me when you gave me the thing. Also, you said it was fragile, so I didn't think lugging it around in my backpack was a good idea. Pavel rubbed his eyes. Fine. There's a rampaging unicorn. A rampaging unicorn? How do you even know that? He rubbed his brow. The toaster started acting up again, and then the images came, and... Your magical crisis alarm is a toaster? Yes, he said as though it was common fact. I tracked the unicorn to the planned community near the bookstore. Lake Commons? Yes, there. Oh, great. The Commons was a popular hangout in a huge commercial area. I'm at school. I don't have a way to get there quickly. Pavel wiped his sleeve over the cut, smearing blood across his cheek. I'll pick you up. No, Bridger said, remembering Pavel's mode of transportation. No, thank you. I will run down the street and meet you on the corner near Oak. I'm leaving now. Hurry up. I'll swing by. Bridger took off. He ran through the parking lot and around the side of the school. His backpack was locked in Astrid's car since she was his ride, but he'd have to worry about that later. He at least had his wallet, phone, keys, and a mysterious magic mirror. He jogged parallel to the school entrance and crossed the street at the next intersection. The street lights flicked on as the sky darkened. Bridger skidded to a stop at the corner of Oak Street in time to hear the gunshot sound of Pavel's car pulling up next to him. Bridger grabbed the door as the car continued to roll, pulled it open, and jumped in. It was very primetime cop show, and Bridger was mildly proud he didn't trip and fall. Once inside, Pavel tossed a mirror at Bridger. Talk to them, he said. Bridger looked, and Bran and Nia stared back at him. I can't believe you haven't read all the book, Nia said, her voice shrill. She pointed a finger at him, and glitter puffed from her fingertip. It's important information. Arms crossed, Brand shook his head and his blue hair swept across his forehead. We were rooting for you. Not helping, Pavel yelled. He took a corner at an ill-advised speed and Bridger flew into the door hard and the car rattled around them. He grabbed the seatbelt and clicked it into place, not sure if it would really help him if they did get into an accident, since Pavel's car was literally a death trap. Dude, a ride alive, okay? Read him the passage, Pavel said, ignoring Bridger. Nia flew to the huge book propped up on an open table, and Bridger recognized the library in the background. She hovered over the pages while Brand tried to support the mirror. If Pavel's driving didn't make him sick, then Brand's inability to hold the mirror steady would. Nia cleared her throat. Unicorns are solitary creatures who dwell in forests and woods. They do not emerge often. They do not suffer humans and rarely interact with other magical beings unless of a similar breed. They're proud and don't like to be treated like common beasts. Sightings are rare, but the few reports that exist of encounters with them state they are docile creatures unless disrespected. Legends say unicorns are drawn to purity, and maidens were often used as bait to lure unicorns out of hiding to be hunted. Maidens, Bridger stared at Pavel. I'm a virgin, but I am definitely not a maiden. You're the closest we have. What if it gets pissed off that I'm not a maiden? What if I accidentally show disrespect? Newsflash, I don't actually want to die a virgin. So there you go.
That's great. That's fun. I really loved the characters, and I loved the names. The names were so different than names that I hear. I don't read tons of fantasy. I'm just starting to branch out into different things. I get bored really quick, and for years I just read thrillers. And finally, it occurred to me, if I'm bored all the time, why don't I branch out to different genres? And I found all kinds of great stuff in different genres, but I'm just starting to read more of fantasy. So I haven't come across names a lot, but I really love that Bridger and Astrid, his best friend, Pavel, the guy he works for, and even Leo, the love interest, is not a name I hear a lot. So wait, as a writer, how do you come up with these names, these that are so unusual?
Well, for this book, I keep a running list of names that I like and just kind of keep them in a notebook. And when I start looking at characters and naming characters, I'll refer back to that. For this book, I was writing it, and Leo, the love interest character, is half Puerto Rican and half Caucasian, just like my great nephew, Leo. So I asked his mom, Leo is a year younger than my youngest child, and his full name is Leonidas. And I asked his mom, my niece, if I could use that name, and she said yes. So that's how I got Leo's name.
So say his name one more time. Leo's full
Leonidas?
name?
Leonidas.
Great. Did you use that in the book as the full name?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I remember him.
It's only mentioned once. I think his dad calls him his full name at one point.
Yeah, that was it. That was it, when he was at the dad's house. I loved his parents. Okay, go ahead for the other names.
And then Pavel came from, I was writing this book right after Anton Yelchin unfortunately passed away, and he played Pavel Chekhov in Star Trek, and I was really upset about his death because he was such a great actor and played a lot of great characters that I like Kyle Reese and of course Chekhov, and he was Odd Thomas in that movie. So it was kind of my little Star Trek tribute by renaming that character after him.
I like that. Yeah, that was very sad. His Jeep knocked out of gear and hit him when he walked to his mailbox. Was that it?
Yeah, he had one of those faulty shifters in his Jeep, and it didn't shift. I guess what happened is that it didn't shift into park. It was in neutral, and it rolled backwards.
Oh, that's awful. That's awful.
Yeah.
Oh, just awful. So how about the name Astrid? Where did that come from?
I went to Austria as a kid, as a foreign exchange student for a couple of weeks, and the girl I stayed with was named Astrid. That was the first time I'd ever heard that name, and so it's always kind of stuck with me.
I like that. It's really interesting. I liked Astrid. She was a really great character. Now, you set everything up. Now, what we should have done also is it kind of tells everybody what the book is about, the rules and regulations for mediating myths and magic, but give everybody just a little blurb about what the book is about.
I pitch it as Fantastic Beasts meets Simon Versus. So it's basically about Bridger, who's the main character, who needs money for college. He has a single parent, and he decides to get a job so he can have money to go out of state for college. And he answers a sketchy Craigslist ad and kind of gets roped into this job as an assistant to an intermediary who helps folklore and myth live in our world and remain hidden.
And I liked how it, I don't want to give anything away, but I like how the book ended. And it felt like there's another one coming along.
There is, actually. It was just announced earlier this week. The title is Monster of the Week. And it's,
I like that.
It'll come out in October of this year, 2019.
Excuse me. Usually I drink hot tea, and I'm drinking regular tea, and now my throat is like closing up on me. Say again when it's going to come out?
It'll be out October 15th of 2019.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So when it comes out, maybe you can come back and talk about the book again. That would be good. Talk about that book. That'd be good. That'd be good. Okay. So you write fantasy. Do you write anything else besides fantasy?
I write sci-fi and urban fantasy, and I'm working on a high fantasy right now.
Okay. So you're all sort of the same area. Is that what you grew up reading?
It is. I grew up reading Douglas Adams and Mercedes Lackey and Neil Gaiman, Terry Pratchett, all of these, big fantasy sci-fi names, Robert Asprin, Robert Jordan. So yeah, that's what my brother, who is a significant amount older than I am, would send me books for my birthday. And he sent me one every year or a couple every year. And when I was 12, he sent me The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. And it's my favorite book. I still have the one he gave me. It's 25 years old. And it still has the original dust jacket and everything on it. I managed to save it all these years. But I've read that book, gosh, a ton, just a ton. So it's where I get my sense of humor from. It's where a lot of the humor in the book is modeled off of that.
Yeah, I can see that. Totally. And I haven't read a lot of Neil Gaiman, but my favorite book from him so far is Neverwhere. Is it Neverwhere? Is that what it's called? Mm-hmm. That one I loved. And I guess there was a radio play done, but I still haven't listened to it. But
yeah, my favorite of his is Good Omens. And it's amazing. And there's going to be Amazon has done a television show of Good Omens with David Tennant in it. So the trailer is out, and it's really good.
Is that on Amazon Prime?
I think so. I think that I'm remembering that correctly.
Okay, cool. Because I have that. So that's really good. Okay, so you got the next book coming out. So how many books do you have out? If someone went to your catalog and they wanted to buy other books from yours before this next one comes out, do you have other things out too?
I have 4 young adult books out. 3 of them are a trilogy. It's a sci-fi space opera trilogy. And the last book came out in October of last year. So that is completed.
Yeah, I think, now that I say that, I think I actually have one in my Kindle. Because when I was scrolling to look for the cover for this one, I'm like, hey, there's another one that's her same name. I download sample chapters like constantly, but actually that one, I think I bought both. I think when we have a mutual friend, Carrie, who has been on the show a couple times. She sort of introduced us and said, you have to talk to her, you have to read her book. I said, okay, I will. So you got the new one coming out this year. How long does it take you to put together a book once you have the idea?
It really varies. I wrote my first book, The Star Host. I wrote it in February, March, and April of 2015. So I wrote it in 3 months and submitted it to the publisher in June of that year. So it takes about 3 months. When I'm working really fast, it'll take 3 months to write it and a month about to edit it and get it into shape and get it to beta readers and all that. I just finished writing Monster of the Week, and I started it in August, and I finished it in December. So August, September, October, November, 5 months.
Wow. Oh, that's
So
really
I can,
impressive.
well, once I have the idea, once I plot it out, I plot everything, down to the scene, and down to the dialogue out before I write.
That's smart. That's smart. I used to do screenwriting. I used to start as a literary agent, and then I worked as a screenwriter for about 10 years. And the people who were the most prolific and had the best scripts and the ones easiest to get out there were ones who sat down, did just like you, and were very anal about outlining, and they really knew what they were going to do. And yet, if you want to put out a new book like every 6 weeks, you have to know what you're doing before you sit down and start writing. So
Yeah.
that's good that you do that. And that's good. And look, now you've got, what, you started in 2015, you said?
Yeah, my first Star Host was published in March 2016. So from then till today, I have 4 books out, and the
That's
5th one will be out
wonderful.
this year.
That's really good, because I've got 2 out and 2 that are, they're getting there. So yeah, I need to get moving, because I get people emailing me, when is the next book coming out? Well, it's coming out. It's coming out. So you're prolific, but how often do you get started on an idea and then it just goes nowhere and you set it aside? Do you have a metaphorical drawer full of unfinished manuscripts?
I have a Dropbox file of unfinished things that got started, or outlines that got started and didn't go anywhere. I actually, yesterday, I was looking through it to see, because I was going to recycle some of the ideas into something else I was working on, and was looking through it and pulled something up, and I was like, this chapter's really good. I should continue with this. So I have a lot that, you just get started on, and then you get distracted by a shiny other idea and go that way. So I could say in that file, I have at least 10, maybe more, of things that, may just even be a sentence of an idea that's saved. And then some that have, like the one I found yesterday, has about 10,000 words already written that I didn't do anything with. So.
Sometimes even when you outline something, sometimes once you start the writing, the characters just don't want to do what you want them to do, and it just does not work. And then you just set it aside. And I've got tons of things too that between screenplays and manuscripts that just the characters just didn't want to be.
Or there's something inherently wrong in the plotting, and you got to let it sit and think about it, because it's not working. And as you're writing, you kind of get to a point and you're like, oh, I don't know what happens next. Or if I try to get here, it seems contrived, or the characters don't match, their motivations don't match with what I had planned. So there's some of that happens too, where I get to a point and I'm like, this hasn't been thought out really well. I haven't figured this part out yet, so I'm just going to set it aside and think about it. And then it just depends if I go back to it or not.
Yeah. Well, the ones that you go back to are the ones that have more meat to work with. So, and they're the ones that'll go out, and they're the ones that the audience will love, So, okay, we just want to make sure, just checking my notes, and everybody I know gets always mad at me when I pull my stickies off the walls. So, we talked about that. Okay. There. Okay. So I write, it's misadventures. They're very clean. She never curses because her brother's famous, and she doesn't want to end up on YouTube auto-tuned cursing up a storm. So she says blast all the time instead of cursing. But the other series that I'm also writing, which I've got chapters on the podcast that people can listen to, there's a lot of cursing. And so I'm just wondering, as I'm doing this, people come to expect one thing from me. Are they going to be angry if they read this book? There's no cursing in the first series, but the second series, there's a lot of cursing. Should I write a pen name? When you're working on things that are slightly different, when you're going from things like rules and regulations to something that's a little more high-tech sci-fi type thing, are you worried that you're not going to be able to pull the readers from one to another? Do you think about doing a pen name?
I actually do write under a pen name. F.T. Lukens is not my real name. And that is just because writing's not my full-time job yet. And so I have to do professional stuff under my other name. And my real last name is not a common last name, so it'd be really easy to connect me. And not that that's a bad thing, but I just really needed at the time that I started writing to keep that professional life because I work in a social work field. So I do write under a pen name, and my pen name though is my first two real initials. FT are really my initials. And then the last name is actually, I had a really good friend who was in the sci-fi and fantasy club with me at William & Mary, and she passed away after we graduated college. And so when I was thinking of last names to stick behind my initials, my husband said, well, why don't you use Angela's last name as a kind of tribute to her? And I asked our close friends, and they all said that would be fine, and that she would get a kick out of it, and which I think she would.
Oh, I bet she would have. Yeah.
So the first book I wrote, the Star Host, in the front is dedicated to the sci-fi side. We call it Skiffy. So it's dedicated to Skiffy from the College of William & Mary, and her name is among the folks that are in there.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice tribute. And I bet she would have been able to see her name in print then, so she would have liked that. She
would have thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, she would have, yeah. I'm sure she thinks it's hysterical.
Oh, I like that. That's nice. That's nice. So you've got the new book, then Monster of the Week that's coming out. Mm-hmm. Do you know what you're going to, that one you said is done and it's off to the publisher?
Yes, that one's in edits right now.
And who's your publisher? Interlude
Press. Okay. I'm in the it's called Duet, which is the young adult section of Interlude Press.
Okay, we'll put a link in the show notes. And I know there were other books that I think were in the back of yours that were listed that are also by the publisher that sounded interesting, so people can find. And then Carrie, our friend Carrie, is also, Carrie, I'm going to forget your name. Oh,
Carrie Pack.
Thank you, Carrie Pack. I'm so sorry, Carrie. Kitty, don't come and get me, her mother. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes so people can find it. So you got that one off. What are you going to work on after that? Do you have any ideas yet?
I have a high fantasy that I wrote last year that I am doing some work on and cleaning up and kind of sending out and seeing where it might land. I am working on a couple of outlines for different ideas that I've had. I'm working with a friend. We're developing a comic book. So
cool. Do you have the artist yet?
Yes. It's someone that I met several times at Dragon Con. We met the first year I went, and then because we were bought into the same booth. And so I met her the first year, and then every year since we go and we hang out and have fun. And this last year I was, she's an artist. And this last year I was like, have you ever thought about doing a comic book? And she has done comic books before. And so we decided we're going to partner one. So right now I'm working on pitching, developing different storylines and pitching to her and letting her see which one best works with her art style. So whatever she picks out of that group, I've developed 4 different ideas, and whatever she picks out of that group is one we'll do the comic book with, and then one of the others will be the next book I work on.
Oh, nice. Now, do you have a newsletter so that people who are interested in maybe a comic book or the next books can join your newsletter or find you to, follow along what's going on and get the new books from you?
Yeah, I don't have a newsletter. I'm really bad at social media. I am on Twitter the most. I'm on Twitter every day. It's on my phone. I tweet a lot. You could always ask me questions on Twitter or I have my DMs open, so you can ask me there. That is the absolute best way to get a hold of me. Or email is fine too. It's just my name, ftlukens@gmail. I'm pretty responsive there. I do have a Tumblr, and I do have a Facebook, and I do have a website. Who knows what's on them? Because I don't.
So all right. Well, I'll put your Twitter handle and your email address.
Yeah, that's fine.
In the show link. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you and find out when the next books are coming out, and there's probably a newsletter or something with your publisher also.
Yeah, my publisher is really active on Tumblr and on their website and on Twitter as well. They did give me a little, I wasn't allowed at the last. I was at MarsCon over the weekend, and we weren't. The name of the book was not out yet, and I was like, "Well, can I, put it out at the booth?" And they're like, "No." And so this is what they gave me: Unicorn Poop #2 coming soon, because poop jokes, I love them. So that was the kind of teaser for Monster of the Week.
Yeah. Hold that up again. If you're listening on the podcast, it's a postcard. It's blue and it says Unicorn Poop at the top, and then down below it says #2 coming soon. So that's great. I love that. Well, when you have the next ones out, let me know and we'll have you back on the show.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for today. Thanks, FT. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I have no idea what next week's show will hold, because tomorrow I go in for my cochlear surgery. I'm getting the right ear done. I had to think about it. Which ear? The right ear. So I'm getting the right ear done tomorrow, and I hope to be up off the couch and able to record next week's show. But we'll see. We'll see. I wanted to have like 3 shows in the hopper and ready to go, and I just had so many other things, including writing. I'm trying to finish the next book. So we will see what happens. There will be an exciting show next week. I just don't know what the heck it's going to be yet. So until then, go read a good book.